The reading of Monica's will was meant to bring closure, a dignified moment of remembrance for a woman who had built the Quartermaine legacy on grace, intellect, and an unshakable sense of family. Instead, it became an emotional earthquake that no one at the mansion saw coming. Every seat in the grand drawing room was filled, the atmosphere thick with expectation and anxiety. Portraits of Monica and Alan seemed to watch silently as generations of Quartermaines waited to hear what final wishes the matriarch had left behind. Yet beneath the solemn anticipation, old rivalries stirred like dormant embers ready to ignite. For years, Monica had been the unifying figure holding together a family that was both brilliant and broken, but her final act would expose every fracture that still remained. Alexis, who had been entrusted with guiding the proceedings, was composed as ever. But her calm exterior masked an unease, because she knew what was coming. She had personally advised Veronica Ronnie Bard to attend, knowing that Monica had made a surprising mention of her in the will. Ronnie's presence itself was controversial. To some, she was the estranged sister, long vanished from Port Charles and rarely spoken of. To others, she was a ghost from a time when the Quartermaines still resembled a family rather than an empire constantly at war with itself. As the will reading began, Ronnie's quiet composure drew curious glances. Was she there for closure, or something far more strategic? The early moments felt deceptively ordinary. Monica's tone, even in written form, carried her familiar blend of warmth and wit. To Brooke Lynn, she left her cherished string of pearls, elegant, understated, but deeply symbolic of the femininity and resilience Monica admired in her granddaughter. Brooke Lynn, visibly touched, clasped the necklace with trembling fingers. Ned was next, inheriting Monica's music collection. A nod to his lifelong passion for songwriting, and perhaps Monica's way of reminding him to keep art alive in a family obsessed with power. Olivia's name followed. She would receive Monica's cookware, a simple but deeply personal gift reflecting the friendship they had forged over countless family dinners and late-night heart-to-hearts. Then came the mention of the grandchildren. Monica had provided trust funds for all of them, and for those yet to come. It was a classic Quartermaine move, ensuring that her legacy would extend to future generations, even if the current ones seemed intent on tearing each other apart. For a fleeting moment, the room softened. There was laughter, a few tears, even a sigh of relief. But that peace was temporary. The next portion of the will shattered it completely. When Jason's name was called, the mood changed. Monica had left him something far more meaningful than material wealth, a gold watch that once belonged to his father, Alan. It was more than a timepiece, it was a reminder of family roots and a plea for reconciliation from beyond the grave. Jason, often the family's most distant member, lowered his gaze, visibly affected. The symbolic inheritance struck everyone differently. Tracy rolled her eyes, Ned nodded solemnly, and Ronnie's expression remained unreadable. And then Alexis read the line that froze the entire room. To my sister, Veronica Bard, I leave the locket I once wore as a girl. Inside, a photo of us before life and pride tore us apart. The words seemed to echo off the mansion walls. Gasps followed. Some didn't even know Monica had a sister. Tracy's jaw tightened, Michael shifted uneasily, and Brooke Lynn stared at Ronnie as if seeing her for the first time. The locket, a small but potent relic of childhood affection, now symbolized not only a family bond but also a mystery. Why had Monica chosen this moment, and this woman, to reclaim the past? Tracy's moment came next, and it was brutal. She was left only a jar of pickle Lila, the infamous family condiment that had once humiliated her in a previous inheritance dispute. The symbolism was unmistakable. Tracy's nostrils flared. This wasn't a gift, it was a message. Monica had remembered every slight, every manipulation, every attempt to seize control of the family's legacy. And once again, she had used her will to humble her fiercest rival. For Tracy, it was déjà vu wrapped in bitterness. Then came the true detonation. Monica had left Michael the cars, the horses, and the family yacht, assets of prestige and luxury. It was a generous but expected choice. Yet when Alexis reached the final lines, her voice trembled slightly. As for the Quartermaine mansion, the home that holds our triumphs and tragedies alike, I leave it to Veronica Bard. The words fell like a thunderclap. Tracy rose from her chair, face pale with fury. Michael's eyes widened in disbelief. Ronnie herself looked stunned, or perhaps she was merely performing shock for the audience. No one could tell. The revelation set off a cascade of suspicions. Had Monica truly intended to leave the house, the very heart of the Quartermaine legacy, to a woman who had been absent for decades? Or had someone tampered with the will? Tracy was the first to voice what everyone was thinking. She accused Alexis of complicity, questioned the legal validity of the document, and hinted darkly that Ronnie's sudden reappearance was no coincidence. The echoes of Edward Quartermaine's old machinations seemed to haunt the room, as though history were repeating itself in cruel symmetry. Ronnie sat quietly through the chaos, her hand resting on the locket as if it anchored her to something real. Her eyes glistened, though with grief or triumph, no one could tell. She finally stood, thanked Alexis softly, and walked out, leaving behind an uproar that would surely consume the family for weeks. Jason followed her briefly, perhaps out of empathy, perhaps to uncover her motives. Tracy, meanwhile, vowed revenge. She would challenge the will, dig into every clause, and expose what she called a masterpiece of deceit. In the aftermath, alliances began to shift. Brooke Lynn, torn between loyalty and curiosity, wondered if Monica had seen something in Ronnie that the rest of them could not. Olivia urged peace, but even she couldn't hide her doubts. Ned, ever the peacemaker, tried to reason with Tracy but knew the war had already begun. For him, Monica's music gift now carried a haunting echo, melodies of family harmony that might never be restored. By evening, the mansion felt colder. The portraits seemed to stare in silent judgment as the family dispersed, each nursing private wounds. Michael, left with his yacht and cars, felt hollow triumph. Jason, holding Ellen's watch, understood the cruel irony of being left time, but not peace. Tracy, clutching the pickle Lila jar, plotted her next move with characteristic venom. And Ronnie, now the legal owner of the Quartermaine estate, drove away into the night with Monica's locket around her neck and an unreadable expression on her face. Was Ronnie the unsuspecting beneficiary of Monica's forgiveness, or the architect of a long game no one yet understood? Port Charles would soon find out. Because in the Quartermaine world, nothing stays buried forever. Monica's will might have been her final statement, but it was also an invitation, a spark reigniting old rivalries, buried secrets, and perhaps even crimes left unresolved. The woman who had kept the family together in life had now, in death, ensured they would never stop fighting over what she left behind. In the weeks to come, the fallout from Monica's will promises to reshape every corner of the Quartermaine dynasty. Tracy will dig for proof of forgery. Jason may find himself torn between loyalty and justice. And Ronnie, suddenly thrust into the center of a storm she may or may not have created, will either reclaim her place in the family, or destroy it once and for all. Whatever Monica's true intentions were, one thing is clear, even in death, she remains the most powerful force in the Quartermaine legacy, capable of turning love into conflict, grief into suspicion, and inheritance into war.